Okay. All right, let us stand a little. Or let's come up to stand. Okay. Just starting with just the sense of your own body weight on the ground. Just that sense of your right side of the body and your weight right from your shoulders, ribs, down through your leg, through that right side, and then other side, left shoulder, ribs, arm, hip, the weight of the other side of the body. And even letting your breath deepen, like letting the breath move down into the belly, into the lower back. And even down, feeling that pelvic diaphragm move with the breath. So it's feeling your breath touching your sitting bones or perineum, tissue between sitting bones, genitals and anus, and then letting your exhale be a little more complete. That gentle press of the breath out and inhaling down, and notice how that impacts how you stand. And exhale. Good. Next inhale, again, that sense of pelvic base dropping, diaphragm, respiratory diaphragm dropping, even the feet widening, spreading. And as you exhale, perineum slightly lifting as the belly empties, as the diaphragm returns to its natural shape. And two more like that. Taking it out and up. And down. Good, and that same sense of the inhale drops as the arms come out and up. Just a sense of gathering, whatever it is, warmth, sunlight, like the green of the trees, the sound of the birds, and just gently drawing it into the body, whatever feels good, the chirp, the crickets, the breeze. Even if the sound comes from far away, or the feeling comes from far away. Good, one hand on heart, one hand on belly. Just this sense of feeling your body on earth, right? And our relationship to the earth. And this verticality that we have, right, very connected to the ground and also to what's above the sun, the moon, planets, the other suns, galaxies. And after your next exhale, inhale slow and full and deep, and exhale with a hum or an om. Step forward. Just a little shift. And I'm just going to turn towards you. So feet are flat, and I'm just letting my weight shift. Right, and it might feel more forward and back, or you might feel a little swing. Good, and even if it's a little swing, so the hip that lifts, let your shoulder almost tip to that side and the head tip to that side. And so the hip that lifts, gonna get one as you come forward and one as you come back. And again, it might be quite small, but just feeling that little lateral curve in the spine, through the neck, through the side body. Good. And stepping back and pause. Good. Other side, little step forward. And again, just start feeling what's feels limited, right? Whether it's in the thighs or the ankles, the sacrum, the waist. And then as you start to feel, right, where the lift is, letting your body will naturally do it, just exaggerate it. So you get this little kind of serpentine movement, side to side. Good. And stepping back. Good. And then little step forward, doesn't matter which foot, as long as we do both. Good. This time letting the back heel, so you may need to adjust your stance. I'm going to let the back heel come off the floor, and you can do a couple rolling up with the back leg straight. But I am, again, adjusting my weight so I can get up onto my toes and really stretch the webbings of the toes. Big toe, little toe, all the toes in between. And then maybe let that back knee bend a little. Good. Step back. And other side. Again, just lifting that heel. Again, finding a distance that helps you get up onto your toes. Right, big toe. Right, the toe next to the big toe, the one in the middle. The one next to the little toe and the little toe. Again, I'm doing it with legs straight. And then doing it with leg bent. And maybe the leg stays bent the whole time, or maybe it just bends when you shift one direction. Just notice. Is it different than the other side? And then stepping back. Good. 1 foot forward. Again, doesn't matter which one. Just going to bend and straighten. Good. And then a little bend and a little swing. So I'm going to swing sitting bones back, sitting bones forward. As the sitting bones move forward, I'm going to let the spine flex. And as the sitting bones move back, spine extends. So head lowers as sitting bones move forward. Head lifts. Head lowers. Lifts. And lowers. And then maybe, right, letting the hips swing back so the front leg straightens. You can even let the front of the foot lift. So we've done this before, but you don't remember, right back heel can lift, front of the front foot can lift. Hips swing a little bit more. Again, you can bring the head into play just a little and noticing how the head responds with the ribs, almost letting them organize with each other. And then stepping back and notice. Good. Other foot forward. Just a little bend and straighten. Just feeling knees, ankles, feet, hips, and then paws bent, and that little anterior sitting bones back, posterior sitting bones forward. Notice where your weight is falling. Again, bringing in the head so you feel this whole kind of C curve, flexion and extension. Again, feeling how they relate, right? We often relate individually, the pelvis separate from the ribs separate from the neck and head. So can you feel them connect? And then let's deepen the swing, swinging the hips back. Maybe the toes of the front foot come up, maybe swinging forward and the heel lifts. If balance is a challenge, you can make it smaller. But again, and you can even slow it down if you want to feel the movement of, I'd say, the transition places, right? The pelvis is more of a stable structure. The ribs are more stable. The head, so the lower back and back of neck become more transition places, less stable. Good. And then let's take chin to chest. And rounding down. Again, what is beneath tries to stay vertical, and what's above tries to use the weight of that to curl over. So you're curling the spine section by section by section. And then slowly curl back up. All the way up, maybe even looking up. And as you look up, notice what happens. Head, neck, ribs. As you lift the head, neck, ribs, as you tip the head back forward, or tip the head forward again, curling the neck, upper thoracic, mid, lower, right? Noticing the places that kind of want to move in a bigger chunk. Slow down, see if you can tease it out. Good, and then let's walk over to one outside of the foot
and center and walk over to the other foot outside of the foot. So I'm doing a little C curve in my forward bend. And center, and let's round back up. Again, nice and slow. Let the torso be heavy as a counterweight. You have to really pull yourself up. Let's come to the wall for a few moments.
With the door. With the wall and the door. I'm gonna come over here a little bit. Yeah. Okay, so both hands on the wall. Let's face the wall. Good, and I'm just gonna walk hands up and walk the feet back. So it's a little bit of a downward dog shape. Right, especially from the pelvis to the hands. Good, you can let the head, the ears come between the arms. And then you can let the head move through the arms. And again, let the head come back between the arms, almost sending the crown of the head towards the hands. And then play with letting the ribs almost fall towards the wall, lower back, a little bit of an arch. And then moving the ribs away from the wall, or a little bit of a tuck. And maybe a couple more of those arching towards the wall and away. It's a small movement, but I'm feeling quite a bit in armpits, shoulders, side ribs. And then walking the feet back in, up to stand. Okay, so hands about shoulder height. I am going to walk my feet back just a little bit and lift heels. That's hard to see that because I'm not quite. Back. So on heels. Good. Bend the knees a little bit, little posterior tilt. And then re-straighten the legs. And just a couple of these. Little bend, elbows somewhat parallel. And straighten. And bend. Straight. Good. Lower the heels. So I'm going to keep one hand on the wall. I'm still a little bit of at an angle, and I'm going to turn more towards a side plank. Vashisthasana. Good, opposite arm out to the center of the room. And I'm going to turn my rib cage, my breastbone. You can even use your hand to help turn as much as feels available to look at that extended arm that's reaching out. And then let's take that arm overhead, and I'm going to watch the hand as the arm goes up. And let's even take the arm up and over towards the wall, which means the hips will move away from the wall, but I'm still looking. And if that's too much on the neck, look forward. And then coming back up. Let's bring the hand down towards the hip now, and I'm going to lean towards the wall with the hips. And then more neutral. Coming up again, that same line, that same arc up and over, maybe fingertips reach towards the wall. They might even touch if you're lucky. And then the arm coming out to the side and down towards the feet, reaching towards the feet as the hips move towards the wall. Good. And then let's turn to the wall and do the other side. Other hand on the wall. Arm out to the center of the room. Again, I'm going to turn and look. I'm trying to turn the breastbone towards that hand. Again, notice where your neck needs to be. If you can, follow the hand with your eyes. Adjust that as you need. top arm up and over towards the wall and then back up. Out to the center of the room, down towards the floor, alongside the hips leaning towards the wall. And then out and up and over and up and out and down as you lean. Good. And turning towards the wall. Again, let's walk the feet back, hips back, downward dog is shape. Good, one more breath here, maybe looking under one arm. And then head center and looking, meaning turning the head, but you're also turning the ribs. Right, that the ribs become part of your neck and head. And then walking the feet forward and come up. Good. All right, one more. One more little. Oh. Arm out to the side of the room. We've done these a little bit. We'll just do a couple. So I'm just bringing that arm that's extended out to the center of the room across the front of the body, turning to the wall. And then bringing that arm out again and letting the arm again extend away or back. And maybe even turn and look. And then up and over, less of a displacement with the pelvis. Overhead. And then again, looking away. And then, so my fingers on the wall are pointed up, so I'm just going to change them. And if they were pointing differently, just find a different position. So my fingers are now pointing towards the back of the room. Arms out. Again, I'm going to move across, maybe even let that hand mimic, so fingers facing away from each other. Center of the room, open out a little more, and then up to the ceiling, overhead. Come up to stand. Good. Let's do fingers now towards the floor. Yeah, you can lower it, right? If the angle in the wrist is too sharp. Right, second arm out. And turning towards the wall first. Again, maybe you can mimic, right? Fingers down to the wall, down to the floor, maybe the hand to the wall, maybe not. And then out to the center of the room and back. And then up to the ceiling and overhead. And back up to center. And release. Good, and just spinning the arms in and out. And then maybe even taking the shoulders forward and back as the arms spin in and out. Good, and then let's do the other side. Oh, my pants up. Okay, so I'm starting with the fingers up towards the ceiling, second arm out towards the center of the room. Good. Across the body and to the wall. And then out to the center of the room and slightly back if that's available. Up to the ceiling, overhead. And up to the ceiling. And out to the center of the room. Switching hand position to the fingers to the back of the room behind you. Again, arm sweeps across, hand to the wall, maybe even mimicking that shape. Fingers facing away from each other, and then to the center of the room, turning away from the wall. Really listening to the body, shoulder, hand, forearm. Up to the ceiling and over. And then up and out. Good. So fingertips towards the floor. Again, first arm in the center of the room sweeps across the body, hand to the wall, maybe mimicking, fingers down. And then out, turning away from the wall. And then arm up and overhead. And then out to the center of the room. Good, and release. Good. Maybe shoulders up and down. And up and back, and down and forward and up. And back and down and forward. And changing direction. Good, arms behind the back. Good, interlace the fingers and let your hands rest on your sacrum, and let's just play with drawing the elbows towards each other. And then out a little, so shoulders can come forward. And then letting the shoulders slide back as the elbows slide towards each other. One more, just letting the shoulders come forward, elbows forward. And then shoulder blades in, shoulders back, elbows in, and then maybe extend those arms. Good. And notice what the head is doing. Is the head pushing forward? Is it gripping? Is the jaw gripping? Maybe just let the head move a little side to side, a little forward and back. Good, and release. Good. One more. Let's take one arm. I'm just going to take it up to the ceiling behind the head, and then down to the lower back, or up to the opposite shoulder. Just going to cycle in. I'm not really staying long, not pushing. Again, noticing what the head is doing. Notice if you move the head to get the arm behind you. See if you can just notice. How are you using the head? And you let it be part of the whole. And then other side. Right, other arm up, elbow to the ceiling, hand behind the head. Then you don't have to push into the head. And then arm down, up the back. Could be lower back, could be kidney area, could be higher. And just cycling through. Again, not really pushing for anything. Just feeling the movement. Noticing if the head wants to push forward or the ribs want to push forward. Good. Good. And release. Okay. All right. Let's grab blocks. We're going to just do a couple things with blocks. And we'll come onto the floor. A couple of things. Feet wide. Toes slightly out. Heels slightly in. Just do a little side bob. Side. And side. Let's actually do it without the blocks to start. First side. Good, and second side. Good. Maybe first side, other arm up and over. And slowly up. And sliding down as that arm comes up and over. Just feel the weight shift as that arm comes up and over. Let's just come forward. And up. And forward. And up. This time I'm going to take the arms out to the side and I'm going to come forward. And then I'm going to turn the body. So the arms are still parallel to the floor. I'm just going to turn towards one leg. And then bring hand Same hand as that leg, down to the leg, other arm up. So coming back into this triangle shape. Turning back to the floor or breastbone to the floor, arms out to the side. Coming back through the front. And over to the other side. Same arm as the leg, comes down. Other arm comes up, little triangular shape. And then turning towards the floor again. And coming back through center, and I'm just going to sweep to the other side. Maybe just increase the tempo a tiny, tiny bit, or thread it together more smoothly, turning forward, turning towards the floor, sweeping across to the other leg, turning to the front of the room, turning towards the floor, sweeping to center, and slowly come up. Okay, then grabbing blocks. Right, so little side bend. Reaching the arms up, or top arm up, bottom arm down. And then I'm gonna turn again towards the floor, maybe arms out to the side with blocks just to feel that. And then hands to the floor. Good, maybe turn the feet just a little bit, so front foot that you're framing, turning somewhat forward, doesn't have to be all the way forward, back foot turn in a little bit. And then let's do hand, opposite hand to foot. Opposite hand stays on the block. Now we're turning across the leg. And then bringing that hand down. And again, play, maybe it's a little bit of a triangle shape, maybe the arm comes overhead, maybe the head even drops, so it's a little bit of an arc, and the arm comes down from that position. And then other side, arm up, same thing, maybe the hand comes closer to the hip, maybe that feels more interesting. Or maybe the arm comes overhead, again, maybe there's an arc, letting the head hang. Letting the ribs follow the head. And back to center. I'm just going to pick my blocks up, either take them back or out to the side. They're very different. Let's come through center. I'm switching my feet a little and over to the other side. We did skip a step, but that's okay. Again, opposite hand. Then the front foot, turn your feet how you need to make it work for you. Doesn't have to be traditional. You can play with front foot turning in, turning out, back leg turning in more, turning out more, turning across that leg. And letting that hand come down. And then turning more open, more traditional triangle. Maybe take the arm overhead. Maybe hand comes down from there. Other side, arm comes up. Again, you can play with the arm coming back and down to the floor, or overhead and around and down to the block, not the floor. And second side, maybe even sweep the arm overhead to come up. Right, play with what feels interesting. And then again, maybe the arms come back alongside the body, that's less load, or out to the side. Come back through center. Let's bring blocks to the floor. I'm going to turn my blocks down and walk them forward. So again, a little bit of a downward dog shape. Bending my knees, letting the hips move not only down, but back. And then letting the legs straighten or move towards straight. They don't have to straighten all the way. And just playing with that, bending and straightening.
and bending. And straightening, just feeling arms, back, neck, head, waist, right side of back, left side, belly, hips. Good. And then walk the hands back in, bend your knees and leave your blocks there and round up to stand. Good.
Guess we could have come in heels in, toes in, heels in, toes in. Okay, let's come down to the floor. Starting on your back, knees bent. Feet on the floor. Good. Right ankle on your left thigh, just above your knee. And let's start with this kind of smaller tip side to side, staying a little closer to the center line. As your hips get heavy and ribs get heavy. As your breath starts to lengthen. And then as it feels available, you can take that wider, right? Really listening to your body more than anything. Listening to your breath, listening to your body. Head can also roll with, right? Same direction as the knees. It always gives the body a little more permission. Good. And then we're going to play with bringing that right foot to the floor. And if that feels far, you can put a blanket or a block underneath. I'm going to let that foot come down, left thigh down. Let's do a little arm circle. So right arm is going to slide along the floor towards the head. And again, might be off the floor slightly, but towards the head and around the head. The arm can even be bent a little. Turning the head, the neck, head is heavy. The ribs turn, and I'm going to let that right arm come to the left hand, maybe even past the left hand. And then down towards the foot. And then up along the shin and the knee. And again, the head is heavy, so you get that nice stretch. Lateral neck. And along the outer thigh, and to the hip, and to the floor, and back out to the right. Good. And I'm just going to slowly pull that right hip to the floor to come on to the back of the pelvis. And then let's tip the other way. So right thigh to the floor. Again, use blankets or blocks if you need to. Good. And opposite hand. So left hand slides to the head and around the head. And forward. Towards that right hand, even around the hand. Again, head is heavy. But just noticing relationship, head and neck and ribs and angles and load. Left arm comes around or across the thighs, around the hip, to the floor and out to the left again. And then slowly, slowly onto your back. Okay, and let's do one more. We're just going to do one more side to side, and we're just going to play with letting things tip a little more. So I'm going to tip to the right. Again, maybe that right arm swings around, and maybe let that left foot lift just a little bit as you turn towards the floor. Just a little more play. And then left foot comes down as the right arm comes back around. hips lift. Then I'm gonna tip to the right, left arm slides around the head. Again, so a little more play. So left foot again is gonna lift. And I'm just gonna roll a little, possibly towards that right front thigh, maybe. Maybe, again, listening to your body, and then slowly return the arm around the head, the foot to the floor, and back onto your back. Foot down, extend the legs. Good, bending your knees. Left ankle, right thigh. And again, let's start a little closer to center line, just a little tip, side, center, side. You can have the hands close to the body. You can let the head, the same rhythm as the knees, right? So you end up rocking onto the side of the torso, the hip, the ribs, and the side of the head. Good. Less torsion in the lower back. Good. And sometimes something to notice is when we rotate, sometimes if we default to an anterior tilt, these are the places that it shows up. Like the lower ribs lifting, back lower ribs lifting, belly lifting. Back arching. Almost think of widening the belly and the waist. And again, when you feel ready, going further, going wider with the knees. Good, and we are going to put that left foot on the floor. So either prop if you need, or letting that foot come to the floor. Let's take that left arm, slide it towards the head along the floor and around the head. I'm just going to roll head, neck, ribs, reaching past that right arm and around and down towards the foot, left foot. Again, head is heavy, so you have that reach of the arm away from the heaviness of the head. As you trace that outer leg and outer hip and move out to the side of the room. Good, let that left hip slowly pull back to the floor to bring you back up. And then a slow tip to the left thigh to the floor. And then again, right arm towards the head and around the head. And towards that left arm and around and down towards the knee. Across the thighs. Outer hip. Back to the floor. And out to the side of the room. And then slowly, slowly rolling onto your back, waist heavy. Good. And again, just a little more play, same thing. I'm just shifting the tempo. If you need to keep it slow, please do. And I'm tipping left foot to the floor. And that left arm around. And you can even bend both arms, but I am going to let my breastbone turn to the floor and that right foot lift a little. And then reverse, foot comes down, left arm goes around the head, pelvis rolls with the ribs. Good, and then left thigh to the floor, right arm around the head. Good, turning towards the floor, maybe even letting that right foot lift. And then right foot down. Right arm around the head. And back out to the side. Good, left foot down. Just a couple anterior, posterior tilt. Good, and pause. And let's bring feet together, knees apart. And pause. Letting the, again, back of pelvis feel heavy and the waist feel heavy. Any sense of breath or softness in the outer hips, inner thighs. Good, and knees coming up. Let's take feet wide and let the knees come together. Feet wide. And that same sense of kind of length and width in the back body. I just had to walk my ribs away from my pelvis. Very different than a back bend. This is more access to a wider, longer back body. Good, and then bringing the knees up. And let's slide the legs out. Either hands on body or off body. And just feel the weight of your heels, your calves, and they may be different side to side. And notice the backs of the thighs, the buttocks. The whole rib cage, lower, middle, maybe upper, depends on the shape of your body. Upper arms, maybe forearms and hands if your hands are on the floor, back of head. Just a settling, a softening, right? Letting gravity have your body. Letting your breath and move into the spaces in your body. Maybe familiar spaces, maybe new spaces. Touching into what feels nourishing within, even. That we often turn towards something outside, maybe as a reflection, sun, forest, water, but maybe turning in and looking for that nourishment inside that already exists. Maybe it's the movement of your breath, right? Your inner wind, or the beat of your heart and the movement of blood, of lymph, your waters. Tissues, organs, glands, and even just the majestic beauty of the cell of our DNA. Fingers and toes. Arms and legs. Bending, folding,
rolling.
and bringing yourself up to sit. Heart, one hand on belly. Just staying connected to that, right, that inner sense. Not just sensations, but the felt sense or the feeling space or emotion space. Heart space. After, oops. Excuse me. Just the sense of your inhale, creating a sense of clarity or clarifying either something that you want to hold within or hold within and then offer out as well, right? From that sense of fullness, offering, inhaling. And let's give it sound with an om.